I hope so. Maybe we're live now. All right. So, thumbs up. Let me know Facebook, YouTube, Twitter peeps if you are seeing this live. I hope we're online. I hope we don't have another hiccup like we did last week. Um, IG friends, so good to see you again. I really appreciate your company and your commitment and your friendship. Um, so let's start off where we always do. What is one step that you made this week towards achieving your dreams, to chasing your dreams? One little step that you made towards your goals. And I will start. My one step this week was to make sure that my online store went live. I uploaded merchandise that complemented the new Freedom Field novel that went live on February 1st. So you will be able to find water bottles, hoodies and t shirts for children, iPhone cases that have a variety of pictures from our Freedom Field novel. It's wonderful, wonderful, especially if you have a favorite character. Certainly pick up one for a young person in your life who you know would absolutely enjoy the Freedom Field story. And if you don't have a copy of it yet, you really should head on over to Amazon and Barnes and Noble and pick up one as well. So that's my one step this week. What has your step been? Your one little step towards chasing your dreams that you accomplished this week? Because we talked about eating elephants. The only way to eat an elephant, the only way to surmount that amazing goal that you have is to take it a step at a time. So share in the chat, let us know what you are doing to achieve those dreams. This week on Chasing Dreams Lives, I want to stick to the topic of books for a little bit. Last week we talked about um, things that you can do to stay on track, things that will pop up and threaten to derail your progress. But this week I wanted to look at three little aspects of book design that tend to be kind of rushed through and overlooked, but can have a huge impact on whether customers or your fans buy your books or they don't, right? So I want to talk about, and my three big takeaways for today will be your cover design, the illustrations, photographs, whatever the images are that you're going to have in your book, and your overall layout. So let's look at those one by one. Remember to put your questions and comments in the chat as we go along so that we can address them at the end. Anything you want to know more about the topic or anything else that you think that I can answer for you. So the first thing I want to point out to you is the cover design. This is the first thing that a customer sees when they step into a bookstore and pick your book up off the shelf, or when they scroll to Amazon and they do a general search for children's books, biographies, life skills. This has to catch their attention. And I find sometimes we tend to cut corners a bit on our cover design, thinking that, it's okay. The content will sell itself. Well, not really. The first thing someone sees is the cover, and it either turns them on and makes them want to buy your book, or they think, not that engaging. Maybe they know you. If they know you well and you're a favorite author, they may take another step and read a sample. But if they don't know you and you're a new author, then this can make or break your sale. And there are a couple of things on the cover that I want to point out that are really important. So first of all, the image. This is Charlotte's Web. The image itself needs to be attractive. So if you are on a really tight budget, then this is definitely one area that you want to spend a little bit more on, right? You want to ensure that your cover design is beautiful. It does not have to be a fancy drawing, but you certainly want to ensure that the colors are pleasing, it's catchy. It really just kind of draws attention to what your book is about. The image must represent the theme or the main idea of your book. Do not negate the power of text. So if you notice, even with Charlotte's Web, it's about a spider. And so they've created a font that looks like a spider web. A little thing, but makes a huge difference, right? I'll even go back to cover image. When I first published Love Has Wrinkles, that was my first book about grandmothers. I remember being so excited. You know, I'd gone to a couple of fairs, the book was selling, friends were buying, family were buying. And I approached a store and asked them if they would take a couple copies of my book. And, you know, the owner called me back a week later and she said, "Lise, I hope you don't take this anyway, but it just does not remind me of a children's book. It reminds me more of a cooking book, because on the front I'd had this image of a grandmother and she was cooking. And to her, it just did not draw her in as a children's book. Now, no one else had said that to me. I really just needed one person to misinterpret the intention of the book for me to actually sit up and take notice and consider that maybe it had to be changed. And hence, I re-released it with a totally new cover, brighter colors, changed the image. It had a grandmother interacting with a grandchild. So it was a little bit more obvious what it was about, right? So, image counts, the text counts, that, you know, the font that you're going to use for your title. You also want to take into account, oh, I'm sorry, I think I'm having a technical difficulty here. Okay, sorry. Let us pause. I had extra people joining my chat and did not realize that I turned on their video. The other thing that you want to take into account is the back of the book. And this is often kind of left to the last minute and rushed, but it is equally as important. And certainly the back is the most important thing that's on the back of your book is your blurb. What is your book about? Now, your blurb is not just going to be a summary of your book. It also has to be catchy. It has to leave a little suspense, you don't to give away the entire story either. So that needs to be really carefully crafted. I think my favorite blurb to date is the one that was done for my Little Ray book. And it was actually the illustrator who made the suggestion. And my Little Ray book has a lot of math terminology that's woven into the story itself, even though it's a story about friendship and perseverance. And she was actually able to capture a lot of the mathematical metaphors and puns and just kind of weave it into the blurb. Really creative. Can't wait to bring that to market and share. So that's the back. Simple is better. If you have some really good book reviews that you can pull together before publishing, it's good to include those as well, especially if it is a book for adults. That's definitely something that's considered if you're going to be talking about life skills, financial skills, a biography. It's good if it has already been reviewed by somebody who is prominent and highly regarded, who is known to be a thought leader in the field, and they can give you a thumbs up on your content. That's always a plus. So that's number one. Spend some time on your cover. Don't spend so much time on the content and the interior that you forget that the first thing that a person sees, that a reader sees, is your cover, and that has to be engaging, both the front and the back. Second point are your interior images. So whether it is that you need to have illustrations, and those can be full page illustrations or spot illustrations, where those are those little drawings that you have in the corner of a page. It doesn't take up the whole page. Or if it is photography, so if you're writing a biography or a historical text and you have photographs or scans of official documents that you want to share. Quality counts. You know, I see so often where in trying to pull a book together, especially with a children's book, and you have an author who's on a budget, the temptation is to scrimp on the images, and that's the worst thing you can do, especially if you have such a finicky audience as children. You know, images are a big thing for them. If it's a historical text, the quality of the images are also a big deal, especially if you have black and white images, maps that need to highlight a particular location. Detail and clarity is going to be key. I mean, nobody wants to read a book where the pictures are fuzzy, right? And they don't even need to be fully colored to be engaging. So you can actually have spot illustration in a children's book like this one here, and it's a sketch. It can be an ink drawing, a black and white drawing, but the key is that it's clear, it supports the text, and it's still pleasing to look at, and it still supports the context. It somehow accentuates what's written. So, with this one, you get the expression on the pig's face. He's actually not amused, right? So simple can still be good. Simple can still be of a high quality, right? So your images are very important. And again, I say this not just for children's books, but when you look at historical fiction, historical text, nonfiction, anything, biographies that require photographs, you really want to ensure that they are of a high quality, a high resolution. Nobody's going to want to flip through and look at a blurred image or a map that's too difficult to read. So take the time and budget for that, right? The last thing that I would mention would be formatting. Now, very often we think, okay, just drop those words in a Word document, cut it down to size, layout doesn't matter. Actually, on the contrary, you would be surprised how paying attention to the layout of the interior can really pull a book together and make it seem just like a very special gift and special possession. So, for example, and I don't have all the examples here, but I'll pull this one up. This is one of my favorites. If you notice, they played with the size of the font, right? So we have whoosh, and they made it larger. They make it bounce out of the page. You'll see sometimes where you actually have some in bold, some in an older font to kind of give character to the piece. Sometimes you'll see different gradients on a page with an image. I've seen, one of my favorite things that I see is when the paper looks aged, right? So you get a little fluff on the side to make it seem like a really old document, something, handmade paper and made in an older time, and it seems like an antique. Something like that, as little as that. Or even just a choice of paper, because if you're going to use a lot of photographs or maps, so if this is a historical or a scientific nonfiction piece, then the quality of the paper counts. So you want to play with the color of the paper, whether you're going with low sheen, a matte finish, white versus an off-white color, because you want something that's going to support the images and the content of what you have, right? So we're not even just looking at images, but quality and color of paper. And actually, you can do that with the cover as well. So some of your self-publishers, I know Amazon definitely has that option. Your cover can have a little bit of texture on it. So it's not just the paper. It feels like it has a little bit of cloth on it. It has that kind of cushy kind of texture. All right. So just to sum up, wasn't a whole lot that I needed to cover today, but I think it's really, really essential that we think about the presentation of your book, because that too can make or break the quality of your sales. You want to ensure that you pay special attention to the cover of your book, both the front and the back cover. You want to pay attention to the quality of the images that you're putting in your book, especially if you're creating a book for children or if it's a book with photographs and maps. And then, of course, you want to pay attention to your layout. Make it engaging, right? So if it's a children's book, you can play with the font and make it whimsical. Some text can be larger than the others, especially if it's, words that have to do with sound. Or just looking at the quality and the color of the paper. So if you're going with more of a nonfiction biography, something that's more focused on adults, then you may not want to go with newsprint. You may want to go with a nice bright white to support and a glossy finish to support images, that kind of thing. All right. So that's my 2 cents for tonight. For those of you who are thinking of publishing, definitely presentation is key and absolutely important. Let me see if we have any questions for tonight. I'm so happy to see so many return faces. Thanking you so much again for joining. I'm not sure if the audio went and chipped in because of internet issues. I'm just seeing that. So I hope that you are actually hearing when you were able to hear the majority of what I said. Remember the key things that I mentioned, and remember to reach out for help if you need it, if you're publishing and you're not quite sure where to start. And certainly, if you need recommendations for persons to help you with illustrations, if you need a little bit of coaching, reach out for help just to kind of guide you through the process and keep you on track. And I mean, certainly, I offer that support, whether it's individual or a group, and group always works. Again, let me know if you have any additional questions about publishing. Certainly, the quality of your book and what you present is going to determine whether your audience is held captive and will return to purchase any more of your books. So you definitely want to think long term when it comes to quality and attracting a following. So good to see you. Hi, Stephen. Yes, I'm really happy that the sound has been sorted out. And thank you for checking on Twitter for me. I agree with you. A great quality book is a gift. Not seeing any questions for tonight. Remember to post in the chat if you had made any steps toward your goals and chasing your dreams this week. Again, I released my online store. I have merchandise. Anybody else have anything that they want to share? Okay, all right. No questions. Well, again, I'm going to wrap up, but I want to challenge you again to set a small goal for this week. Chase those dreams, decide what little step you're going to make, and we'll meet again next week, Thursday. Feel free to drop me a DM, send me a message. If there is something in particular that you would like me to share that maybe I had mentioned in a chat and you want to hear expanded on and discussed a little further, or if there's just something I haven't mentioned and you have just this burning question about something that you want to talk about, certainly the goal is to delve a little bit further into some other really interesting and not well thought about concepts of writing that new writers tend to forget. I won't give the secret away. So we'll throw them out bit by bit as we progress. Happy Thursday. I hope you have an awesome day tomorrow. And remember, chase those dreams. Good night, everyone. Hi, Mel. Thank you so much for joining.